It had to always stay true to like Proenza's spirit, you know, very cool girl, very real still. We're actually doing hair quite similar to we did a few seasons ago, where we just wash all the girls' hair, so it's super clean, and it's just really about the casting. So rather than kind of cloning every girl, it becomes more about every girl as an individual. Obviously, as hair dries naturally, it gets bigger, and they like the opposite, more flat and more kind of skinny, languid hair. So we're using a little bit of silkening balm to weigh it down, and we're just putting nets on the girl, so as it dries, it keeps the volume down. And then just in the mid-length and ends, we're putting a little bit of Tausug wave spray, just to give it that little bit more slightly weathered, kind of organic texture. So although it's clean, it still has a little tension in a way to the hair.
This season we wanted to kind of look towards something a little softer, something a little more discreet, something that felt a little more intimate, that you had to kind of get up close to it to kind of understand what it was or feel the texture, really see the color. We wanted to pull out all the saturation of all the colors and just kind of soften things up.
We wanted things to just have an intimacy about it. Like last season was just like very visually sort of, you know, loud. And what felt kind of fresh and what turned us on was subtlety and like a serenity. Things that felt a little more polished all of a sudden felt more relevant to us. A lower shoe, she's lower to the ground. It felt a little more real. I think that sort of, that serenity just sort of rubbed off in the work. It always does, I guess, right?
Oh, I loved it. It was so exquisite. It was a real 180, I think, from spring, which was so much about color and print and collage. This felt soft and ethereal, angelic almost in a way. I mean, the whole thing felt quite ladylike, sort of, but still with their edgy sensibility, I think.
Everybody was blown away by the spring collection, so we're very excited to see what they do as a follow-up for fall. We can't even call them young designers anymore. They're establishment now, and after 10 years, they really represent the future of American fashion, and they're doing some of their best work. They're at their most energetic. This is really their moment, and there's so much room for new design in American fashion that these guys are really poised to become the next big thing.
Proenza Schouler has season after season been one of my favorite shows. My first real season of doing shows, it was one of the first big ones I did, and I spent a lot of the week with them doing the hair and makeup test and the looks. This was not last season, but the season before, and so I'm really passionate about them as people and them as designers and the beautiful clothes that they do, and I love doing the show every season since then. It's been an absolute dream. They're great people.
Oh my God, these guys are the best. They're like the epitome of cool, and every girl I know covets Proenza. So I think everybody's always excited to see what those boys are gonna do, and they're incredible. They're incredibly talented and innovative and interesting and unique.
I thought it was beautiful. I loved it. Whenever I go up to the office to see them, I'm always really blown away by the textures. When you actually touch the things, how well made they are, and the different patterns and colors, and the trips that they go on to kind of gather that inspiration, and seeing that on the wall and then seeing what comes of that in the collection is always really very artistic, and I enjoy it.
You know, I would describe their aesthetic as that of a new generation. The way that they work and they sample images from the internet, they are influenced by anything that runs across their computer screens. They look at fashion like a Tumblr account. It's very much speaking in the vocabulary of a young person's language.
Yeah, we really went to town just like exploring new types of materials. Like we've been playing with woven leather for a couple seasons, but this time we wanted to create a tweed out of it. So all this tweed jackets and coats you saw were like printed and perforated leathers that were then twisted and then woven together. Or like some of that lace that you saw on the end with all the little like kind of spots all over it was actually a satin back crepe that was like bonded to a jersey, and then it's called ultrasonic welding, which is like this sealing technique that seals out all the shapes, and then more shapes are sealed on top. So bringing out texture, but still there's a lightness to it, there's an openness to it, like an airiness.
You're using modern technology to create really sophisticated, beautiful clothes. Softness doesn't have to just mean color or like texture, it can also mean softness of form.
Like a style line or a sleeve shape.
Just wanted to get rid of angles, and like every line was round.
I think that, you know, they are really devoted to craft, and they like layers and depth, and they were doing all sorts of weird things with, it seemed like, heat transferring little amoeba things to lace, and then laser cutting other fabrics. Very cool way, like sort of a cool couture in a way.
Proenza did a very lean, very pure, and very spare collection and opening, black and white, you know, a color palette that at one time was very classic and now very directional. Curvature cuts in jackets, and then also on the hems of dresses and of skirts. And it was interesting to see how black separately and then worn together within a single ensemble became an interesting print, kind of a bit of a squiggle, a bit of a dot that they ended up interpreting as a print on hair calf or pony. Actually, a lot of hair calf and pony throughout the entire season. There was a lot of print and a lot of almost unexplainable color at Proenza Schouler for spring. So they really cleansed the palette and they went to black and white. My favorite pieces in the show were these interesting squiggle pattern black and white hair calf pieces, a great biker jacket. Now a biker jacket is something a girl has to have in her wardrobe for the fall season. She's going to wear it with a pant, or how I love it, with a pencil skirt. But the boys did it with an asymmetrical closure back to an A-line skirt. And then interesting lace pieces again, either in black or in white, that had an interesting asymmetrical cut to them, and just right above the ankle. Not long, not short, but just right at the ankle. Very pretty show for the boys.
That's what we try to be at the end of the day, is kind of reflect our moment, which is right now. So yeah, I mean, like the aim is always to create something extremely contemporary, and that's kind of our proposition of what feels contemporary to us.